get up with a burning desire to do things, you probably don't have enough goals. With this wake-up call, a very good morning to the esteemed dignitaries, respected seniors and teachers, dear colleagues, students, and members of the press and media. The Faculty of Research and Development, KGMU, is honored to welcome you all to the Research Showcase 2021. May I request the Dean, Research and Development, Professor Shaili Awasthi, to escort to the dais. Professor Balram Bhargev. Professor Dk Gupta, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Lieutenant General Puri, and Dean Academics, Professor Uma Singh Ma'am. Thank you very much. Ralph Waldo Emerson has said, "The earth laughs in flowers." We therefore wish to symbolically greet the luminaries as a mark of respect with an Ekal Pushp to our Honorable Chief Guest, special invitee, Professor Dk Gupta, to Vice Chancellor, sir, Uma Singh ma'am, Shaili Awasthi ma'am, the goddess Saraswati is imbued with supreme authority on the academics, science, and arts. Recital of the Saraswati Vandana is a quest and prayer by us mortals to be endowed with knowledge and wisdom.
He Sharade Ma, He Sharade Ma, He Sharade Ma, He Sharade Ma, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, तू स्वर की देवी है, संगीत तुझसे, हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे, तू स्वर की देवी है, संगीत तुझसे, हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे, हम हैं अकेले, हम हैं अधूरे, हम हैं अकेले, हम हैं अधूरे, तेरी शरण में हमें प्यार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, ज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, मुनियों ने समझी है, ऋषियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा, पुराणों की वाणी, मुनियों ने समझी है, ऋषियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा, पुराणों की वाणी, हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने, हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने, विद्या का हमको भी अधिकार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, ज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ।
Thank you. By lighting the lamp, we bow to the greatest illuminant in our life, truth, and pray that all ignorance and darkness is dispelled. Could the dignitaries on the dais therefore light the lamp of knowledge?
दीप ज्योति परम ज्योति, दीप ज्योति जनार्दना, दीपो हरतु मे पापम, दीप ज्योति नमोस्तुते, शुभं करोतु कल्याणम्, आरोग्यं सुखसम्पदा, देशे बुद्धिविनाशाय, आत्मज्योति नमोस्तुते.
Services to the nation. He is an emeritus professor at the ICMR. He has made his excellence felt in research, innovation, and medical education at national and international levels. He gallantly led the COVID war of KGMU and UP very successfully from the front through thick and thin. He is known for his skillful streamlining of administration, immaculate behavior, dignity, power of expression, and oratorial skills. His efforts to keep this institute abreast with the best are phenomenal. I request Sir to come on the podium to deliver the welcome note and guide us.
Professor Balram Bhargev, Director General, ICMR, Professor Dk Gupta, former Vice Chancellor of this university, and also former Director of the Super Specialty Pediatric Hospital at Noida, Professor Dhavesh Kumar, Honorary Consultant Medical Genetics at the William Harvey Research Institute, Queen Mary Hospital, University of London, Professor Shelly Avasti, Dean Research and Development, Professor Uma Singh, Dean Academics, all my deans, heads, faculty, members of the print and electronic media, students, ladies and gentlemen. My compliments to all on the Research Foundation Day 2021, a day when at KGMU we evaluate our research publications, acknowledge innovations and creativity, award the winners, compliment the ability of some for their exemplary work, and felicitate this subset of extraordinary medical scientists and celebrate our academic pursuits. Friends, research cell of this hospital, of this college, this university, was started way back in the year 1974 by Professor K.P. Bhargev, the then principal and dean of this college. He was a pharmacologist of national and international repute, a great visionary. Ironic as it may seem today, 47 years later, his own son comes to us as the Director General, Indian Council of Medical Research, the country's leading medical research organization. We are privileged to have amongst us Professor Balram Bhargev as the chief guest for the function today. He's not only a Georgian, a cardiologist par excellence, an exceptional innovator and a medical scientist who has led the country from the country's leading research organization in the fight against this deadly COVID pandemic. Professor Bhargev, we are indeed delighted to have you amongst us today. Professor Bhargev, besides being a very brilliant alumnus of this college, has made hugely commendable efforts to make medical science more accessible to the public at large, as some of which would be exposed to you in a short while from now. Well, friends, ICMR has continued to scale newer heights under his stellar leadership. This college university takes great pride in the strengthening of trust, bonding, and partnership of KGMU with ICMR, which has made KGMU researching pride of North India. We are also delighted that as he is one of the most apt people for the singular honor to deliver this annual research oration, which has now been named as the Dk Gupta oration from this year. Professor Dk Gupta, whom you all know so well, has had an excellent reign-in as the Vice Chancellor of the university in the recent past, and recently retired as the Director of the Super Specialty Pediatric Institute at Noida. Friends, I don't have to say this, I don't have to elaborate. He's been an iconic, shining star in the field of pediatric surgery and medical education. We are privileged to have you, sir, amongst us this morning. We are also delighted to have amidst us Professor Dhavind Kumar, Honorary Consultant Medical Genetics, William Harvey Research Institute, Queen Mary Hospital, University of London, and his very charming wife, who is here with us today, he came in yesterday for the inauguration of the Precision Medicine Center, which has become an integral part of the Center for Advanced Research. So we thank Professor Dhavind Kumar for being here this morning as well. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, I say this with great satisfaction that many faculty members of this university continue to strive to newer frontiers in medical research and trying to formulate newer and more meaningful, stimulating, thought-provoking projects, making the research cell of this university a very vibrant, a very cerebral, and a happening place in this university. The PhD research scholars have added to the academic flame and are helping us to carry the baton of knowledge forwards. Recently, Cochrane India Network was launched on the 26th of October, and KGMU was selected as a Cochrane affiliate center for the diverse research activities of Cochrane India, including training for Cochrane Review. We take great pride in the fact that we are now one of the research affiliate centers. Newer R&D initiatives being taken by the research cell to make this hub, the research cell hub, and take it to a global level, there are multiple things I can talk about, but let me just give you a bird's eye view from 2000, just in the last 1 year, 2021, there are about 237 projects which are going on in 37 departments with extramural funding. It goes to show the amount of passion, the amount of inputs the faculty at large is trying to put in. The Center for Advanced Research, DHR MRU laboratory, boasts of an ever-increasing number of publications, projects, patents, copyrights, books written, and so on. SIB Shine, let me just talk about this, synergizing healthcare innovation and entrepreneurship. This is going to be a collaboration between KGMU and IIT Kanpur, a project which is likely to be flagged off early next year, where we combine innovations into engineering patents and try and see what best we can do along with IIT Kanpur. Advanced Mycology Diagnostics and Research Center, which has been sanctioned to this institute from the ICMR, has taken off. Establishment of a genetic diagnostic unit under the National Inherited Diseases Administration, that is the Nidan Kendra, again from the DBT, has also been sanctioned and should take off very shortly. I just need to make a mention of compliments, congratulations, felicitations to the office staff of the research cell and the medical education, and the very dynamic leader, Shelly Avasthi, for carrying off this huge amount of workload with great responsibility on a consistent basis. Congratulations, Professor Avasthi. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, the research ethos of this institute is very deeply woven into the KGMU ethos and fabric. And this happens from the very beginning when the undergrads come into college, the beginning of medical school. And I sincerely believe that that's so important for analytical thinking and self-directed learning. To me, this beginning, this ethos that we see in this college is the beginning of a long journey, academic journey. And I sincerely compliment the past principals, deans, vice chancellors who have propagated this ethos and culture. My greetings to all the faculty winners today and the residents sitting in the audience. Some of you have won prizes, some of you have finished as runners-up. And to the runners-up, I say this, that defeat is the stepping stone for greater successes in the coming years. Today, along with the rendering of the Professor Dk Gupta oration, some top research honors are also going to be awarded, including the Professor Dhavendra Kumar Young Scientist Award of 2019 and 20, Best Paper Publications in High-Impact Journals in different categories, awards to promote promising intramural research projects. I'm also excited to share that 7 members of our faculty figure in the top 2% of scientists in the world in their area of expertise. As per the Stanford University and Elsevier International Rankings, recently updated in 2021. Compliments, congratulations, so proud of all of you. We, however, cannot rest on our laurels and be complacent. There is a lot to achieve, much more to improve upon nationally and internationally. My consistent and assured support is with you all to realize your great potential. I have some suggestions in key areas. Translational research, bringing cutting-edge technology to the common man by making it affordable and accessible, indigenizing expensive equipment and software using AI to tackle huge patient numbers that we treat, and taking telemedicine from hospital to the patient's homes is really the way ahead. And I can assure you that in the coming days, weeks, and months, we will leave no stone unturned to promote professional and academic growth for a synergized enhancement of patient care services. In conclusion then, friends, they say that research is to see what everybody else has not seen and to think what nobody else has thought. Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known. We at KGMU will continue to explore and lead medical research for the unheard and the unknown in our part of the world. With this, once again, I welcome all of you to this Research Foundation morning, and I thank you for your attention. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your vision. It has been said, do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. The Dean Research and Development, Professor Shaili Avasthi, exemplifies this statement in the true sense. A perfectionist, her hard work and efforts make her a trailblazer. She is the founder of not only the medical education department, but has also taken the research cell from a fledgling unit to a huge establishment now. She handles multiple onerous responsibilities effortlessly and is an inspiration in so many respects. Her CV can be rivaled by very few, and talking about her achievements can take hours. Could ma'am please come on stage to apprise us of the annual report?
Thank you very much, Dr. Somendra, for your very kind introduction. Honorable dignitaries on the dais, my colleagues and faculty, students, press and media. It is my proud privilege and an onerous responsibility to share with you what we in research have done over the last 1 year. So this is the Research Showcase 2021, and today is 20th November. On 6th of October 2004, the first research showcase was organized in the King George Medical University. The research cell was formed way back by Professor K.P. Bhargev. Since then, this function is held annually with the aim to mainstream research culture within the institution. And we all know that research is an integral part of academics, patient care, and teaching of an institution. In the Research Showcase, we have had plenary lectures since 2005 by various illuminaries. Their names are on the screen, which you see, but the name closest to my heart is of late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who gave this research oration in 2009. Some of us have memories of that day when he came and interacted with us. So I will begin with sharing what are the new R&D initiatives, some of which our Honorable Vice Chancellor has highlighted, a little more about them. We have the SIB Shine, Synergizing Healthcare Innovations and Entrepreneurship. And I'm so happy that Dr. Bhargev is with us. He initiated this in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, with Stanford University. And I remember the first workshop was held. Dr. Bhan was there. I came also, and Dr. Bhargev held that, was then the champion, and he led it forwards. With the name SIB is kept. SHINE is the new name, and the Bioincubator Initiative is funded by the DBT for the year 2001-2006 with IIT and with Sanjay Gandhi PGI Kanpur. There are 3 of us. It is being led by another cardiologist, Dr. Sethi, Rishi Sethi, and the aim and target is to train 50 postgraduate fellows in next 5 years in biomedical innovations. The next one is the Cochrane Center at KGMU. The lead is from ICMR. And on 26th of October, when it was inaugurated, Dr. Balram Bhargev was very much there, Dr. Soumya was there, Dr. Vinod Paul was there, and we are one of the centers. It is being led by Anju Pradhan and Meenu Singh, and we are there. Now, we have an Advanced Mycology Diagnostic and Research Center in Department of Microbiology. Dr. Prashant is leading it. This is perhaps the first such center in the country, if I may say. I may be wrong, you can correct me, Dr. Bhargev, and we have tremendous hopes for this. Now, in the pipeline, I'm very happy to say, is the establishment of Nidan Kendra, National Inherited Disease Administration at our university, with two components: prenatal testing for genetic disorders, beta thalassemia, sickle cell disease, and other hemoglobinopathies. And component 2 is newborn screening for relatively common treatable genetic metabolic disorders. By the Department of Biotechnology, minor budgetary changes are being done. It is under the Unique Methods of Management of Inherited Disorders, UMEED initiative of the Government of India. I'm very happy to say that a young faculty, Millie Jain from pathology, is taking the lead, and we from pediatrics, from obs and gynae, and hematology are her support, and she will lead it with great zeal. I have full confidence in her. Now, the upcoming Center of Precision Medicine, our Vice Chancellor has told us, it will be in collaboration with overseas KGMU alumni and with other eminent alumni in the country. As you all know, precision medicine is being followed in cancer. It is just to consolidate it and to go further, because if you don't consolidate, you can't take the next leap. It's a consolidation process happening within our institution. Now from this, I go on to the regular R&D activities, the ongoing research projects, as Sir said, 237 in 36 departments, 157 by government agencies, international agencies, big chunk, 24, they given big money in crores, and 56 industries sponsored. 30 of them are new projects. Last year, there was slight slump because of COVID. And as you see in this pie chart, government-sponsored projects are the major chunk, which are competitive. Also, let me tell you, international-sponsored projects, again, are competitive. Now, I'm thankful to ICMR DHR of our extramural funding. 89 of the projects are from ICMR and DHR. We thank ICMR and DHR and our faculty for competitively bringing this project to our institution. The rest are by DST, DPT, UPCST, etc., Ayush, CSIR, and Government of India independently. We have, therefore, a modest amount of 21.6 dedicated research fund only for research for the projects, 15 crore from government and 3 and 3 crore respectively from international and pharmaceutical companies. And you would see here, if you go through the y-axis, the x-axis, the years, in the years we are seeing a consistent 22, 27 crore funding in research. We hope this will increase with time. And this is again showing that government is always leading, and we are proud of our government for supporting research within our institution. This year in COVID, we got extramural grants from COVID, for COVID, 9 grants from COVID, and of the 9 grants, 3 are from ICMR. These are in the Department of Microbiology, Department of Obs and Gynae, and the 3rd grant from ICMR is in the Department of Medicine, National Registries, etc., which are being there. Intramural grant, now it is important to point out, former Vice Chancellor, current Vice Chancellor, faculty know, but intramural grant is from our own institutional overheads which we give. There is no separate intramural funding head, and we are nurturing young researchers through intramural funding. And this year in 2021, 11 faculty, 9 residents, 6 undergraduates have been selected competitively for intramural funding, and the grant sanctioned is in lakhs, not in crores. I wish it was. We have 22 crores there, 22 lakhs here. So if you see by percentage, 10% we are spending for intramurals. This is a large amount, and we are proud to do that. The recipients are faculty in gray, students in blue, PGN students. The students are doing pretty well in this. Now, the ethics committee has to work. We have the ethics committee as per ICMR GCP guidelines. We are registered with Drug Controller of India, 2013 first time, re-recognition 17, again in 2019. And as the Naitik portal opened on 26 Feb 2021, we got registered in the Naitik portal. And we met 9 times, even despite COVID, hybrid meeting, reviewed 637 research proposals, including national, international, PG, PhD, MD, MS thesis, clinical trials, and IMRs. And our ethics committee was reconstituted on 22nd March for 3 years with eminent scientist, Professor Alok Dhawan, Director CBMR, as the chair of the committee. Now, what are our scientific contributions? It's impossible to name everything, but as our Honorable Vice Chancellor said, 2% global scientists, KGMU figures in that. In 2019, 3 people were there. 2020, 5 people are there. But in 2020, they also said, career-wise, how many are there? So 2% of KGMU were also career-wise, and it's really heartening that my teacher and Dr. Bhargev's teacher also, Dr. U.C. Chaturvedi was there in that 3 of career-wise, yes. So now, if you see the citation tracker, and here you go and see the years, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, from the Scopus, and I acknowledge Apul's assistance in getting this graph for me. In this, what you are seeing is that 1,842 cited publications from KGMU, the numbers are growing. And as the numbers grow, I'm sure that our H-index, which is currently 35, will also improve with times to come. PhD program, 12 students awarded PhD degree, 32 have been selected. The numbers enrolled in PhD are 32. Numbers are in the 30s, a few years in 15s and 16s. And PhD awarded this year has been 12. And last year, 14. So these 12 and 14 combined were evaluated for the best PhD, which you will see who gets the best PhD award. Honorable Vice Chancellor has energized PhD this year. It was started in 2004 in biomedical sciences. Now the thrust area is science, life science, science and humanities, all of them. And in 2020 January, may I say that our Vice Chancellor perhaps had a meeting with the PhD scholars to improve the research at the PhD level, identify their problem. And today this function is being held not only with my research cell staff, but with the PhD volunteers who also did the Vandana and will be assisting us. So there has been a refocus on foundation course. We've started PG seminars for research capacity building, regular meeting and mentoring of research scholars by our faculty, and we are trying to bring in academic vibrancy. The PhD should be the best program because this is the only research program of our institution. 9 postgraduate lectures, and in red is Dr. Ravinder Singh, Scientist C, Non-Communicable Disease, ICMR, who also delivered this lecture. We are doing other workshops, hands-on workshop on sample size, functioning of institution ethics committee, and Vice Chancellor has started provision of in-house biostatistics consultancy, where we fix an appointment and we go do consultancy. Now, ICMR established multidisciplinary research unit, MRU, in 2018, which is working. The post-MD PhD program with ICMR started in 2006. I think that time Dr. Ganguly was there. And 33 candidates are registered since 2019. 2 years has been COVID gap. We will again register. Half of them have been recruited as faculty. Then Human Reproductive Research Center in Queen Mary Hospital, established in 1981, still works with financial support of ICMR in Department of Obs and Gynae. So after our Honorable Vice Chancellor's words, we have a little future to say. We invest We should invest in future generations. We should nurture newer and ongoing R&D activities, identify niche area of research excellence and improve our H-index, which is at 35. And we know that the highest H-index in the city is 54 and highest in the country goes in 80s and above. So we have to improve. We are planning electives for UGs and PGs. Electives in research, it is an NMC mandate from 2019 batch. We will match what research is going on, what the researcher can give as an elective, and if the student picks it up, yes, there is a research elective. And then electives in medical genomics with medical education in partnership with Professor Dhaven Kumar and overseas faculty, we are doing it. So with this is the research staff, my faculty, right from the computer operator to the cleaner. We try to do our best. If there are shortcomings and mistakes which are there and delays, I apologize sincerely. Tell us where to improve, and we'll leave no stones unturned in our efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It is time now to felicitate the winners of various awards who have stood out by the shine of their very excellence. Professor Dhaven Kumar is an alumni of this institute, a DSc honoris causa from KGMU, who settled in the United Kingdoms. The KGMU Professor Davendra Kumar Gold Medal for Young Investigators is arguably the premier research award for faculty and a wonderful step to encourage great research. This year, the winners of the 2019 and 2020 awards will be felicitated, as the award could not be given last year on account of COVID. The winner of the Professor Davendra Kumar Gold Medal for Young Investigators of 2019 is Dr. Smriti Agarwal, Obstetrics and Gynecology Department. Could you please come on stage and make a brief presentation?
Respected Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Balram Bhargev, sir, Professor Dk Gupta, sir, Professor Uma ma'am and Professor Shaili ma'am, Professor Davendra Kumar, sir, and senior faculty members and dear friends, I'm truly honored and humbled to be here. Thank you so much for giving me this honor of Professor Davendra Kumar Young Investigator Gold Medal. I am currently working as additional professor in the Department of Obs and Gynae, KGMU. I'm an alumnus of Madras Medical College, where I did my MBBS, and PGI Chandigarh, where I did my MD, and AIMS New Delhi, where I completed my senior residency. I joined this institute in 2010 as assistant professor, and currently working in the field of reproductive medicine, fetal medicine, and ultrasonography in Obs and Gynae. In the last few years, I've been working on several research projects, primarily on genital tuberculosis, gestational diabetes mellitus, and the effect of mycotoxins on female genital system. I've completed 2 extramural projects with CSIR and TB Association of India, and 3 more are ongoing. I have also completed 8 intramural projects, 1 as PI, 3 as mentor, and the rest 4 as co-PI, and 1 intramural project is ongoing. I have recently attended Cochrane Protocol Development Workshop and working on systematic review on diagnostic tests on genital tuberculosis. I'm also working in close collaboration with IIT Kanpur in developing a medical device to pick up signals for gynae pathology, and guided 8 MD students so far and co-guided 32 students and 1 PhD candidate. I have 28 international publications, 23 national, and book chapters in the recent past. It's my citation index. On the academic front at the national level, I have been fortunate to be a core member of the committee which revised the Emergency Obstetrics and Neonatal Training Program by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare in 2019. I was also a part of standard treatment workflow for antenatal care under ICMR in December 2018, a part of GCDR development group on induction of labor in May 2018. I was also fortunate to be a part of the core committee which worked on Indian Extrapulmonary Tuberculosis Guideline, popularly known as Index TB Guidelines, by Government of India in 2015. Also worked on guidelines on diabetes in pregnancy, hypothyroidism in pregnancy, calcium supplementation and deworming in pregnancy, again with the ministry. I was also a part of the team which developed protocol for pregnancy care and childbirth for district hospitals and medical colleges, again with the ministry and in partnership with UNICEF. I'm also an assessor of Jeevan Dhara projects and Foxy Vistrit projects, presented 73 guest lectures and 16 paper presentations in national and international conferences. I continue to work this hard and would like to develop and further potentiate research capabilities in not just myself, but my students and my residents as well. And would also like to follow to be in sync with the ethos of the Institute in providing highest standards of research and contributing to the ever-growing medical knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. Please receive the award from the dignitaries.
You call the name, I call Honorable Vice Chancellor. Sir,
I request Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, Bhargev, sir, Gupta, sir, and Uma, ma'am. And I request Professor Davendra Kumar also to please join us on stage. Thank you, sir. Please have a seat, sir. The winner of the Professor Davendra Kumar Gold Medal for Young Investigators for 2020 is Dr. Siddharth Agarwal from Ophthalmology Department. A huge round of applause for him, please. Can you please come on stage and make your presentation?
Namaskar. Namaskar, sir. Sir, warm greetings to everyone. I had first attended this function 10 years back in the Brown Hall. And at that time, Professor Apul Goyal had received this award. I was thoroughly inspired by his work. And it was like ki CV ho to aisa hona chahiye. And I hope the chain continues and today some young faculty members also get motivated. About me, I've done my schooling from St. Francis College, Lucknow, and I've done my medical education from King George's Medical University. Following that, I did a fellowship from Shankar Nethralaya, Chennai, and I visited the Singapore National Eye Center, the New York Presbyterian Hospital, and the Columbia University Medical Center, New York, as an observer. I joined as faculty in KGMU in 2010, and since then I've developed a special interest in strabismus and pediatric cataract. Currently, I'm working on 2 projects with extramural funding. One is to detect the ocular morbidity in school children, and the other is related to the surveillance for congenital rubella syndrome in infants. I've received 6 international travel grants. Prominent amongst those are from the Asia Pacific Academy of Ophthalmology, the International Council of Ophthalmology, and the Indo-American Cancer Association. I've edited and co-authored a textbook on strabismus in 2019 and another one on pediatric cataract in 2021. Both these books were published by Springer Nature and have been downloaded about 8,000 times till now. We've developed a ruler to enhance the accuracy of intraocular measurements. I've described certain surgical techniques. One is the recanalization of the nasolacrimal duct in adults. Another one is about transscleral fixation of intraocular lenses, about dosing of strabismus surgery, performing adjustable recessions, and unilateral inferior oblique recession in patients with strabismus. I have contributed to 9 book chapters, and I have 61 research articles. 16 amongst those are primary author original articles. My work has been cited 195 times. I've made 13 presentations as international faculty, and my research is aimed and will continue to be aimed at simplification and reducing costs of existing techniques and procedures. I hope to standardize the smartphone photography as a screening tool for pediatric ocular morbidity. And I wish that one day this could be developed into a mobile application where just on basis of photographs, we would be able to decide whether the child needs further eye examination by a specialist. I'm also working on a protocol for management of pediatric cataract, low-cost management. All my efforts have been a team effort, and I'm really thankful to my family, my teachers, not only in ophthalmology, but all in the entire university, my wonderful colleagues, my patients, and most of all my students. I've learned a lot from each of them. There's more to come. Thank you.
I now request Professor Bhargev sir, Professor Gupta sir, Puri sir, Uma ma'am and Shelly ma'am to please felicitate Dr. Siddharth. Could the dignitaries please stay for just a moment for the next award? The feat of 6 of our faculty who have a worldwide ranking in the top 2% of their field is one to feel very proud and inspired by. The Honorable Vice Chancellor therefore wishes today to specially felicitate them. Professor Chaturvedi and Professor Amita Jain unfortunately could not join us today. May I now call upon Sir and the other dignitaries to please do the honors for Professor Shelly Avasthi. Professor R.K. Garg. Thank you, sir. Professor Santosh Kumar. Thank you, sir. Dr. Sujit Kumar Kar. Thank you, sir and ma'am. Could you please take your seat? The best PhD thesis is awarded by the university after a tough and waterproof selection process. The winner of this award for the year 2020-21 is Dr. Shilpa Trivedi for her thesis entitled Isolation and Characterization of Stem Cells from Dental Pulp, Periodontal Ligament, and Apical Papilla. Her chief guide is Professor Divya Mehrotra, Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery Department. Could you please make your presentation?
Good morning. I'm really thankful for receiving this Best PhD Thesis Award. My thesis topic is Isolation and Characterization of Stem Cells from Dental Pulp, Periodontal Ligament, and Apical Papilla. I'm Dr. Shilpa Trivedi. I have done my MDS from KGMU, and my chief guide is Professor Divya Mehrotra ma'am, and my co-guides are Professor Shailendra Kumar Saxena sir and Dr. Sateen Kumar Singh sir from Center for Advanced Research. So the study was aimed to isolate and culture and to characterize the human dental stem cells which were isolated from dental pulp, periodontal ligament, and apical papilla, and to investigate the in vitro osteogenic behavior of these cells which were then seeded on a hydroxyapatite collagen scaffold for bone tissue engineering. After successful isolation and expansion of the cells, we characterized by the MSCs into the osteogenic, adipogenic, and chondrogenic lineages, and then phenotypic characterization was also done by image cytometry, where the cells were found to be CD105 positive, CD90 positive, and CD73 positive, and negative for CD34 and CD45, which is the characteristic feature of human MSCs. Then as we were doing the culture on scaffold, first we assessed the cell attachment and viability of the MSCs on the hydroxyapatite collagen scaffold. So at various concentrations of the scaffold and at 24 hours and 72 hours, the viability of the cells were assessed, and it was found that at varying concentrations, more than 60% of the cells remained viable, and no cytotoxicity because of the scaffold was there, and so the scaffold was suggested to be biocompatible. Then we did the scanning electron microscopy, and as you can see from the pictures, as early as 2 days, the cells were seen cells were being attached to the scaffold surface, and at 7 days the cells are extending filopodial extensions, and by day 21 the scaffold surface was almost completely covered by cells, and continuous cell layer was seen in certain regions. Then the novelty of the study lies in the fact we did a very quantitative analysis of the osteogenic differentiation. Various methods of osteogenic differentiation are basically by staining. So they are a qualitative analysis, but by this method we were able to quantify the osteogenic differentiation. The scaffold was, the concentration of scaffold was slowly increased, like 5 mg per ml, 20 mg, 40 mg, and 60 mg, so on. And the same amount of MSCs were added to each scaffold concentration. And then the cells were cultured in osteogenic differentiation media, and then we assessed the osteogenic differentiation capability by alkaline phosphatase assay. So a quantitative analysis was possible by this method, and we found that as the scaffold concentration increased, the osteogenic differentiation also increased. Then with various growth factors also, we assessed the osteogenic differentiation, and additive effect was found in presence of the growth factors. So the various conclusions which could be drawn from the present study were that stem cells could be isolated from dental pulp and periodontal ligament. The cells were able to differentiate into osteogenic, adipogenic, and chondrogenic lineages. Then the image cytometry analysis also, the cells were CD73, CD105, and CD90 positive. In the presence of the HA collagen scaffold, the cells were remaining viable, so the scaffold was not cytotoxic, and Cells were adhering and migrating on the scaffold surface as seen on the SEM analysis. Osteogenic differentiation of MSCs was increasing with the increasing concentration of scaffold, and at 3D culture also osteogenic differentiation was happening. And so the scaffold, the hydroxyapatite collagen scaffold which we used, it supported the attachment, proliferation and osteogenesis of dental pulse stem cells. So this in vitro study finally suggested that this combination of the scaffold and stem cells could be an ideal one for maxillofacial and alveolar bone regeneration. The publications resulting hydroxyapatite collagen augments osteogenic differentiation of dental pulse stem cells was published in journal Odontology in 2020, which has an impact factor of 2.6, for which I am the first author and my co-guides are corresponding authors. And another in Journal of Oral Biology and Craniofacial Research. This is also a PubMed index journal with a side score of 2.1. My acknowledgements to my guide, Professor Divya ma'am, and my co-guides, Professor Saxena sir and Dr. Satyen Kumar Singh sir, and to my colleagues. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Shilpa. This year, the research faculty has organized a poster presentation competition for publications in prestigious journals in the year 2020 and 21, made by KGMU faculty, PGs, PhD scholars, and students in various categories. Selection of award winners was done by a panel of external experts. The competition was extremely close, with most entries being published in journals with high impact and being extremely relevant. However, before announcing the winners, it is in the fitness of things to express our respect and gratitude to all the experts and judges who gave their invaluable and honorary time and opinion in deciding winners of different categories. Dr. Nuzhat Hussain, Surgeon Captain Ashok Bhandari, Dr. Amit Agarwal, Dr. C.M. Pandey, Professor Davin Kumar sir, Professor Uma Singh ma'am, Professor Sonia Nityanand, Professor Shaleen Chandra, Professor R.K. Dhiman, Dr. Saman Habib, Dr. Abhishek Chauhan, Dr. Deepti Agarwal, Dr. Shaleen Kumar, Dr. U.C. Ghoshal, Dr. A.P. Jain, Dr. S.K. Agarwal, Dr. Akash Agarwal, Dr. Preeti Elhans, Dr. Vinita Agarwal, Dr. Jyotsna Agarwal, Dr. Rajen Bhatnagar, Dr. Rajni Bala, Dr. Vandana Tiwari, Professor Swati Gupta, Professor Ajay Singh, Professor Neerja Singh, Professor Anand Kishore, and Professor Ragini Tandon. So let us go on to announce the winners. And I request Dr. Shilpa to please come on stage and get the Best PhD Thesis Award. I request all the dignitaries to once again please come forward. Thank you, sir. So the award for the best preclinical paper goes to Dr. Shailendra Kumar Saxena, Center for Advanced Research, for the article entitled Antiviral Activity of Belladonna During Japanese Encephalitis Virus Infection via Inhibition of Microglia Activation and Inflammation Leading to Neuronal Cell Survival, in the journal ACS Chemical Neuroscience with an impact factor of 4.418. The punch point is belladonna may serve as a novel antiviral in the management of Japanese encephalitis. The best paraclinical paper goes to Dr. Geeta Yadav from the Department of Pathology, who is the corresponding author, for the article entitled Hemophagocytic Histiocytosis in Severe SARS-CoV-2 Infection, a Bone Marrow Study. The journal has an impact factor of 2.877. Thank you. The punchline is hemophagocytic histiocytosis should be suspected in severe or worsening SARS-CoV virus 2 infection. The best clinical medical paper goes to Professor Hardeep Singh Malhotra from the Department of Neurology for his article entitled Concurrent Central Nervous System Involvement in Immunocompetent Adults with Pulmonary Miliary Tuberculosis, a prospective analysis, with the punch point, a high index of suspicion of systemic dissemination, even in asymptomatic patients, may uncover CNS tuberculous lesions and facilitate optical management. Thank you. The best clinical surgical paper goes to Professor Abhijit Chandra from the Department of Surgical Gastroenterology for his article entitled Natural Orifice Transanal Endoscopic Rectopexy, a novel option for rectal prolapse. The punch point is novel endoluminal procedure adding a new dimension to the management of rectal prolapse. Thank you, sir. The best dental faculty paper goes to Dr. Bhaskar Agarwal from the Department of Prosthodontics for his article entitled An Evaluation of the Effect of Ozone Therapy on Tissues Surrounding Dental Implants. The punch point is ozone therapy has shown faster recovery of perioperative dental implant tissues. Now some special category awards. Please keep encouraging and appreciating the winners, audience. So the best paper in the PG students, PhD scholars, and MSc nursing students category is Dr. Deep Chakrabarti. I request Professor MLB Bhatt to kindly collect the award on his behalf, as he was unfortunately not here, for his article entitled Short Course Radiotherapy with Consolidation Chemotherapy versus Conventionally Fractionated Long Course Chemoradiotherapy for Locally Advanced Rectal Cancer. The punch point being novel 1-week RT regimen is as effective but with better compliance and less side effects compared to conventional regimen in locally advanced rectal cancers. The best paper in the undergraduate category, students category, goes to Mr. Ahmed Uzair of 2016 batch MBBS for his article entitled Antibiotics for the Treatment of Irritable Bowel Syndrome. The journal name is the Cochrane Database of Systematic Reviews, and the punch point is Review of the Safety and Efficacy of Antibiotics in the Management of Irritable Bowel Syndrome. The best paper published from KGMU Intramural Project grant sanctioned in the last 3 years goes to Dr. Pragya Pandey from the Department of Conservative Dentistry for her article entitled Geomapping of Early Childhood Caries Risk, a community-oriented preventive oral health promotional approach. The punch point is color-coded geomapping enabled identification of regions vulnerable to caries helps improve outcome and reduce prevalence. Thank you. So the faculty research and development in the guidance of the Honorable Vice Chancellor from this year is felicitating the most promising intramural research grant proposals submitted by young faculty in the year 2021. And the winners are Dr. Parul Jain from the Department of Microbiology for a proposal Standardization of Multiplex Real-Time PCR for Detection of M. leprae. Dr. Suruchi Shukla for her proposal entitled Genomic Characterization of Hepatitis C virus infected patients who are non-responders to direct-acting antiviral therapy in the tertiary hospital care setup. Dr. Arpita from the Department of Pediatrics, whose proposal was to evaluate the bone mineral status in children with type 1 diabetes mellitus, a hospital-based case control study. Dr. Suresh Chand from the Department of Pediatric Orthopedics for his proposal, Calcium and Vitamin D Deficiency in Children, Design and Validation of Questionnaire to Assess Knowledge, Attitude, and Practices of Parents. Dr. Saten Kumar Singh from CFAR for his proposal entitled Determination of Micrometastatic Cells and Their Sensitization by Radiotherapy and Estimation of DNA Damage Repair in Breast Cancer Patients. And last but not the least, Dr. Ayush Shukla from the Department of Cardiology for his proposal entitled Heavy Metal Level Estimation in Patients with Complete Heart Block of Unknown Etiology. The university also wishes to recognize a few students who have done us proud by winning the prestigious ICMR Studentship Award, which is an effort to ignite scientific and research temper in young medicos. May I first call upon Mr. Shubhajit Roy, MBBS 2019 batch, for his research entitled Effect of Diet Components on the Sleep Quality of First-Year Medical Students. Mr. Shubham Tripathi from MBBS 2018 batch for his research entitled Effect of Using Internet-Based Electronic Gadgets and the Dietary Pattern on the Sleep-Wake Cycle of Medical Students. His guide is Professor Sunita Tiwari. And finally, Mr. Kaushal Kishore Singh from 2018 batch for his research entitled Comparative Study of Loss of Empathy in Undergraduates of Different Medical Colleges, guided by Dr. Pradeep Kumar. Thank you very much, sir, for your patience. You can please take your seat. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. This proverb is exemplified by our Dean Academics, Professor Uma Singh, not only in her profession, but in the field of life as well. She has inspired so many to achieve excellence, and more importantly, she inspires all to follow the principles of ethics, punctuality, hard work, sincerity, and professionalism. Behind a beatific and gentle persona lies a hard taskmaster. And if ma'am decides to do something, it is done. A brilliant surgeon, administrator, and teacher, may I request ma'am to say a few words about the first recipient of the Professor Dk Gupta Research Oration Award.
Thank you so much, Soumitra. It is a proud privilege for me to introduce for today's oration in this prestigious function of our university, that is Research Showcase, Dk Gupta Oration. And it's a proud privilege for this oration that today's orator is Professor Balram Bhargev. Professor Balram Bhargev, I think I'll begin with, is an alumnus of King George's Medical University. At present, he is Director General of ICMR, Professor of Cardiology at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and a DSc honoris causa from KGMU itself. During his tenure at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, for 25 years, he has treated about 250,000 patients and trained about 100 cardiologists. Professor Bhargev has excellent leadership qualities. He established the India Stanford Biodesign program, as Professor Shelly Avasthi had mentioned, and this school has trained nearly 100 young doctors, engineers, designers, entrepreneurs, and helped develop about 30 low-cost medical devices, leading to 8 startups, an excellent achievement. He is an innovator par excellence, with innovations touching everyday's life with huge social impacts. He developed the indigenous platinum iridium coil, and this is a stent. He has also the philosophy of, behind the philosophy of the program, more for less for more, with a mandate to promote global affiliatable, need-driven healthcare innovation. He set up the CGMP Center for Excellence for Stem Cell Studies at AIIMS and is currently developing the chest compression device for sudden cardiac death patients. He has developed a unique program. The acronym is DELHI, which is actually Delhi Emergency Life Heart Attack Initiative. This is an amazing initiative which takes care of early diagnosis and treatment of heart attack patients, which is actually done by trained motorcycle first respondent paramedics. It is amazing thought, and this is his brainchild. He has started the Society for Less Investigative Medicine, SLIM, as was mentioned. He is widely published and has led 2 major trials in India, funded by the NIH Bethesda, USA, which created major changes in clinical practice. He has been awarded the prestigious S.N. Bose Centenary Award by the Indian National Science Congress, National Academy of Science, Platinum Jubilee Award, Tata Innovation Fellowship, Vasvik Award for Biomedical Technology. And what is most prestigious is that as he was awarded Padma Shri, a high civilian award by the Honorable President of India in 2014. Recently, he has played an invaluable role in guiding and steering India through the COVID pandemic with calmness, brilliance, leadership throughout this period of great uncertainty and fear. Without much ado, I would like to invite Professor Balram Bhargev to give his extremely interesting and very pertinent oration today, that is Going Viral, the inside story of Covaxin. Professor Bhalram, please.
इसमें कॉपी कर दूँगा?
हाँ कर लीजिए कॉपी कर लो उसमें. डेस्कटॉप पे.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your very kind words. The dignitaries on the dais, illuminaries in the audience, faculty, students, staff of this great institution, which we have a photograph of on your screen. Now, it is my pleasure and an honor to deliver this Professor Dk Gupta research oration today. And we start with a little prayer. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Dev Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Guru Venamaha. Now, I will give this oration in 3 parts, if the time permits and if you have the time. 30 minutes, so maybe 10 minutes or last part is shorter. So the first part is, can research and innovation be taught? And that is what I thought was probably, and then Going Viral is the other book that I have written, and we will talk about the inside story of Covaxin. What are the attributes of a researcher? And I think these are important to remember because this is from Walter Cannon when he wrote his book on adrenaline and epinephrine when he had described it. Curiosity, imaginative insight, critical judgment, keen powers of observation, thorough honesty, retentive and facile memory, patience. Good health is also very important, generosity, humble attitude, and most important, clarity and brevity. You have to be clear in your idea, what you want to pursue, what you want to do, and then it has to be brief. Sorry. So why inventing matters? It depends on what you are. Are you a creator or are you just a consumer? If you will not solve your problem, you will have to live with a solution which someone else has solved or with someone else's problem. They have solved it for themselves and they have thrust it upon you. And medical technology is complex. It is often, and if you look at much of the innovations that have happened, 50% of the innovations have been by engineers and 50% have been led by medical professionals. I'm talking about just a rough ballpark figure. So the big question is, are you a researcher, inventor, and did you train for it? Can inventing be taught? Yes, it is like an art, can be taught. Mental mechanisms for increasing personal creativity can be stimulated, and we all know that. Undisciplined, highly innovative thought processes, plenty of them, can be systematically channeled to produce streams of problem-solving concepts. And these skills are useful for invention, and developing processes can be learned. And here we want to know what is the difference between science and innovation. And it is very clearly written that science is formulated knowledge, it is scholarship-driven, it seeks the fundamental truth, and it converts money into knowledge. On the other hand, innovation, first application of concepts, it is competition-driven, seeks gainful applications, and converts knowledge into money and or social value. So we have to have a balance, or probably, I would say, scholarship, publication, patents, products, translation. So this is the pyramid probably which we all follow and like to follow. So ultimate goal is translation and to be beneficial to the patient. Now, how do we develop that in our population at large, and how do we develop it in children at large? And I think that was a very important, and the curriculum in schools has been revised several times, but most important things which are being talked about in most parts of the world are that fiction writing has to be encouraged. They need to learn how to story tell. They need to how to think of, out of the box. Applied mechanics, inventing, fixing little things during school time or at home has to be encouraged in every which way. Filmmaking, Latin, Sanskrit is also probably somewhere very important. Multi-religious theology, history of philosophy, and I think that is one advantage the undergraduate training in the US has, because you can do your undergraduate in philosophy and then go on to pursue medicine or engineering as your graduation. So that is an interesting concept which probably we were taught mostly in our schools and colleges. Sports, chess, music, martial arts, yoga, and so probably these should be part of the curriculum to give a full-rounded development for approaching the problem, and that is how inventing can be taught from the early years, in not only from school children, but college children. And then here I often show this slide at many places because I have been a supporter of low-cost innovation and frugal innovation, and again, knowledge and science, and keeping a balance between that, keeping a balance between Gandhian and Edisonian innovation, where Gandhi says that Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. So should we become an entrepreneur or not? Yes. On the other side, Edison says that anything that won't sell, I don't want to invent, because its sale is proof of utility, and utility is success. So as an innovator in a country like ours, I think we have to have a balance of Gandhian and Edisonian innovation. And here again, I'm reminded of one of these sayings which I heard by Dr. Sridharan at one of the orations. He said that to be successful in life, you really need 4 things. And the 4 things he said was punctuality. Number 2 was integrity. and honesty. And number 3 was professional competence. And number 4 was societal commitment. So if you have all these 4, you will probably be able to be fairly successful in life and fairly capable of dealing with some problems. And I would like to add one more today, and that is after this pandemic, is we must plant a tree as well. So that is number 5. Everyone should plant a tree because of the changing environment, the whole world has destroyed the ecology and has seen that disaster. So that is digressing, sorry. So what about the innovation scene in India? Yes, we have problems. The research, and I congratulate this university for taking the mandate of research in every which way and taking it forward with glorifying our young innovators, glorifying our investigators. So we have, as in India, we have a lot of problems and we can see that. But as Indians, we have a great ability to ignore a lot of problems. We just don't worry about them. And if you look at what is the problem, if you look at, this is a series published in New England Journal of Medicine where they talked about different countries and their health expenditure, their access and status, their insurance, beds per 10,000, physicians per 1,000. And this is from west to east. If you look at, now here, India's GDP is about 4%, which is an expanded GDP that the government and the private sector total. But the government is just 1%, and the government has pledged to make it 2.5%. But if you look at what is the third column, so Canada is 11, Brazil is 9, Chile is 7, UK is 9, Germany is 11, France is 12, Switzerland is 11, Sweden is 10, Turkey is 6, China is 6, Australia is 9, Japan is 10. So anywhere around a single figure, more going on to a double figure, 8, 9, 10, is probably the right thing, but that is too ambitious for India. But if you look at the United States, they are spending 18% of the $18 trillion economy, which is about $4 trillion, bigger than India's economy, on healthcare alone. But yet they are not able to provide the healthcare to everyone. They fund research very well, and probably are the leaders in the world in research. So I think we have to realize that more money has to be available in this ecosystem. And I think this pandemic has taught not only us, but the government and the policymakers that this is really an important agenda. And we know, basically in India, we have lifestyle-related diseases which have overtaken infectious diseases. 60% of the DALYs, or disability-adjusted life years, are lost because of non-communicable diseases and 40% because of infectious diseases. But we are still not taken care of malnutrition, which is not really classified amongst the two. And we know that 39 million people fall below poverty line because of health-related illnesses. Much of the research and innovations is imported, and 80% of it is imported, whether it is devices, whether it is diagnostics, whether it is drugs. A lot of newer drugs and research ideas are imported and are implemented for the 20% who can really afford it. So we wait. As Indians, although we are genetically endowed to be innovative, and I think that is a strong statement, but it's the truth. We are somehow innovative because of a frugal mindset or upbringing in society that we have always had a dearth of facilities. So we do try to manage in minimum and come up with newer ideas with limited resources. So we wait till the problems reach a critical mass. And here again, I would like to say that when we solve these problems, we solve them elegantly, cheaper, better, faster, and scalable manner. And you have examples of that: our struggle for independence, no bloodshed, no cost-effective, our food grain crisis, our green revolution, our space, ISRO, Mangalyaan, and we'll show you some slides, our polio eradication, our Delhi metro, probably better than anywhere else in the world, our resilient banking system, the Reserve Bank of India or the State Bank, mobile networks, probably the most inexpensive in the world. We are, government schemes, Bollywood, probably leading the world now, generic drugs. And I put a question on vaccines because I'll be talking in the next part on vaccines. Thought in India, made in India, so that is our decision. Strengths are that India has now got a large pool of doctors, engineers. I think there has been a sudden surge of a large number of engineers available, doctors also, undergraduates also. although there has been some compromise in quality and the government has been in a hurry to open up a lot of medical colleges, which is good, but at the same time we have to maintain the quality. I think KGMC takes 250 undergraduates. So I think there the basic infrastructure is there, so you can build on it. And then more importantly, Indians have a naturally innovative mindset, probably genetically endowed. And physicians see more problems here in India than anywhere else in the world. There is a greater belief, there is a greater self-confidence. There were about 300 people waiting every day. So this gentleman decided that, yes, why not sell masala chai? And people who were waiting in the line to get into the Starbucks store to get coffee, he started selling them tea. And I think that is a spontaneous Indian innovation. Well, it worked for 3 days, 10 days, 1 month, whatever. And then he moved on to some other idea. So I think that is our genetic mindset. I mean, look at our Mangalyaan mission, which is frugal, high-tech, much beyond masala chai. Cost is 8 rupees per kilometer, compared to 63,693,000 rupees per minute for a Hollywood picture. Here's another example of need-based innovation. This is just outside where I live. There is a small crossing of road. This gentleman realized that people want to feed the birds. So he started selling grains. Now he's selling grains. He's sitting there at 42 degrees, 43 degrees in the heat. He has got his little bit of piece of jute on the right-hand side, which is he wets every day in the morning. He remains cool. He has an umbrella, which he rarely uses, which is still packed and kept there. And at the end of the day, he sweeps. He sweeps the place and recycles the grains. So I think this is probably our mindset, which is innovative, and the West is really looking at how we should leverage the Indian mindset for a lot of things, but we should leverage it ourselves, and I think that is most important. And you can look at some of the frugal innovations that have happened in India in the medical scenario, and look at the antiretroviral drugs. We missed the HIV epidemic because of this success story of Cipla. $1 for 3 antiretroviral drugs. The whole of Africa was conquered by Cipla. The whole of India was saved because of this. And these are the drugs which are which started at $10,000 treatment in 2000. And it started costing much, much lower by the end in 2 to 3 years. And this is another huge success story of the Indian pharmaceutical industry. So let us move to another successful Indian research innovation. And this is a little book that I have written on going viral. And sorry, I forgot to bring the copies today. I'll probably bring them for you in the evening. So this is the inside story of Covaxin. And this is another organization like this, which is more than 100 years old, stood the test of time, as the Apex research body, one of the oldest scientific research bodies in the world, which is formulating, conducting, and implementing medical research for the benefit of society. And if you look at the 1918 was the Beriberi inquiry, 1938 was the malaria survey, 1942 was the Kala-Azar cycle demonstrated, then the domiciliary short-term treatment of tuberculosis, first oral polio vaccine trial, low-calorie protein energy malnutrition 1969, oral rehydration therapy 1970, single stroke touching millions of individuals. India's first test tube baby after the Edinburgh baby, 1986, double fortified salt. And we are also now working on DEC salt for lymphatic filariasis to eliminate lymphatic filariasis with DEC salt. So how did India do well or not do well in this pandemic? I think it is the largest democracy which calibrated its response. Fortunately, we were 2-3 months late after the Western world was hit, so we could learn from their mistakes. The government was serious from the beginning as a whole of government approach. It was always calibrated because there were limited resources, whether it be for testing kits or ventilators or oxygen. It was always calibrated, and policies were also calibrated accordingly depending on what was available in the government. And strong leadership with excellent communication. The test, track, treat was the mantra, and we never embraced herd immunity like many other countries did try it in the beginning and fell flat on their face, whether it was Sweden, mortality is much higher than in the neighboring Finland or the United Kingdom initially also embraced herd immunity. We were probably more serious from the beginning and realized that this is not going to work. We were the first country to isolate the alpha virus or the UK variant. We were the first country to culture it. We were one of the 5 countries to isolate the virus, and then the story doesn't stop there. The Zeta, Beta, Kappa, Delta, they were all isolated. And we have an excellent team and an excellent institution in the form of National Institute of Virology at Pune, which had the maximum containment laboratory, or the BSL-4 laboratory, which was the vision of some of my predecessors. They set it in 2010, 9-10, the first in Southeast Asia, after which the Wuhan lab was set up in 2017. And I think the contribution of your institution, sir, has been phenomenal during this COVID, and Dr. Amita Jain played a major role in helping out the region for this. Thank you so much for the same. So we calibrated our expansion. Initially, it was testing, initially only for travelers. And we were only doing RT-PCR. The first patient who came from Wuhan was a medical student, an Indian medical student who traveled from Wuhan to Hong Kong, Hong Kong to Calcutta, Calcutta to Bangalore, Bangalore to Cochrane, and then to his native place. Look at the number of contacts. Tracking them was a nightmare, and that was on the 30th of January last year. And then at that time we were only doing RT-PCR test. Only one laboratory was available. Gradually they were upscaled, and then once they were upscaled, we started doing healthcare workers, SARI patients, contacts, and then later on, by September, it was testing on demand, and high-risk people, atypical, severe COVID, they were all being tested. So it was a very calibrated response depending on what was available. And in April, we were able to utilize the TrueNat, or the molecular diagnostic, portable molecular diagnostic, for the first time in the world. This had got WHO pre-qualification for tuberculosis. It was an invention from the Indian Institute of Science, funded by Department of Biotechnology, ICMR, and CSIR. And then we did the multicentric trial internationally, and we got WHO pre-qualification for this TrueNat. And there are more than 7,000 TrueNat machines across the country, because tuberculosis was a problem before. I mean, is still a problem, but at that point in time, we were able to repurpose this TrueNat machine in April of last year for COVID testing. We had already repurposed it for Nipah for the first time in the world. We repurposed it for the first time in the world for leptospirosis, because we had a large number of those samples for leptospirosis, so that was done. And so in April, and then September, October of last year, the UK had developed a portable DNA nudge sort of a test, which was a molecular test. So we were ahead of many countries in terms of innovating and trying to repurpose what is available. So we had, with the stroke of a pen, 7,000 machines available across the country. Then the rapid antigen test, when we had the first wave in New Delhi, we utilized the rapid antigen test in June of last year. And that was a bit of it was a major game changer, because if it is a positive, it is a positive. So that was the advantage of that. But the WHO recommended it in September, October of last year. By that time, we were far ahead, and initially we had very few kits so today we are having 3,000 molecular laboratories. We have national tests per million per day is 10 times the WHO recommendation, and that has been there since, I think, July, August last year. Cost of RT-PCR test has been reduced tenfold. It is $2 per test. I mean, I had some people visiting from the US, from the World Bank. They said they spent $500 while boarding the flight. They landed at Delhi, they spent $5 at the Delhi airport. So this is something where we are unique in terms of cost effectiveness. There have been successful examples of how the startup system was able to manufacture these RT-PCR kits so fast that we are exporting in several 100 crores across the world. Rapid antigen tests is the same story. Now this is an example of the story of the TrueNat, which I talked about, and how this TrueNat is available. And now we have a laboratory in every district. And with a single order from the Medical Council of India on June last year, we made it mandatory for all medical colleges to set up a BSL-2 laboratory. And otherwise face recognition or face. So immediately everyone put in their efforts and they were done, even in the private medical colleges. And I think that was another game changer that happened. Now here, this is a very interesting story which I just wanted to highlight. This is the mission Lifeline Udan. Now, ICMR is not a testing body. Since we tested the first patient and we scaled up, we were thrust to do all the testing, thrust to do all the purchases, thrust to do all the manufacturing. And at that time, during the lockdown, there was, we were working till 2 a.m. in our headquarters. We had some of our brightest scientists from the 28 institutes come and live in the ICMR guest house in Delhi in a bubble, so about 40 rooms, and they would come to the headquarters, and the headquarters had people from RAW, people from Indian Air Force, people from IB, people from economic affairs. It was a full sort of a government there, really. How lockdown, special flights, even to fly a PPE kit sometimes with a helicopter, one kit could be done, and that was when all flights were stopped, and we were able to take the testing kits to different parts of the country. And this is during the lockdown. It was a tough time, yes, but a lot of learning. Little bit of fear was also there because we were worried. Purchases, initially China said, you buy these kits, if you don't buy it in the next 2 hours, we'll supply it somewhere else. It was a supplier's market at that time. We converted it into a buyer's market by innovating, and I think that all the science agencies, whether it's DBT, DST, CSIR, and DRDO, they played a major role in setting up these startups for testing kits. Now, this was a 24/7 mission wherein testing commodities were sent to different parts, and this is Lifeline Udan. So the testing laboratory had to be set up in Iran. Now, this was done, gave a 24-hour notice to our scientists from NIV Pune that you have to leave and be in Iran, because 6,000 Shia pilgrims were there in Qum. And in Qum, they had gone for worshipping. And so we had to set up a lab in Iran. So everything, RT-PCR machine, a hood, everything was flown by the Indian Air Force overnight to Iran, in Tehran. Tehran, they didn't allow us to set up the lab, so it was set up in the basement of the Indian embassy. And the samples were taken at that time. And at that time, limited samples were, this is February I'm talking about, February 2020. Limited handful of samples were being done. So we did 2,000 odd samples from 5 cities of our pilgrims. And then we flew them through to our quarantine. So again, here, the role of the Indian Army, the ITBP, and the quarantine centers that were created by the defense was phenomenal. And these people were quarantined. And similar samples were taken from Italy, also from the ship in Japan, and some of these students we all know were airlifted from Wuhan. So I think a whole of government approach. There were limited testing kits. There were limited masks. There were limited PPEs. The government swung into tremendous action. Ministry of Textiles, Ministry of Pharmaceuticals, and overnight they were manufacturing these. Another important was this in convalescent plasma, and we were able to do a research, again democratized research in terms of by VC we had connected to different hospitals who had patients, and we did a randomized trial, the largest in the world. Within a span, recruitment started 22nd April, 14th July it was completed. And we had this published in the BMJ, I think in October of that very year, but 2 editorials, how we had democratized and answered that, because this had a lot of social implications, a lot of illegal implications, and therefore we felt that this was important. And we did this largest randomized trial, and now we have started the randomized trial network called Intent, and we are planning to set up about 50 of those hubs and advanced centers for multicentric trials, because randomized trials is the way to go forward. Up till now, here again I want to emphasize one more point. Up till now we were doing trials for countries who were funding it from many other parts of the world. That doesn't mean that we don't participate in those trials, but we should lead our own trials. We should answer our own questions. There is enough funding available in the government system for doing these trials, randomized trials. And I think the prowess is there, the training has been there in all these medical institutions. We did the 4 rounds of sero-surveys, which were done in the same 70 districts, 700 villages and wards across 21 states, same. And with selected based population proportion size. And the last one was around 30,000, which included children as well, and 66.7% was the prevalence. The SARS Genomic Consortium was set up with all the agencies, and we have at this moment about 30 laboratories, but this is going to be expanded to 50 laboratories doing whole genome sequencing. Will be relevant for tuberculosis and other things as well. Now comes to the most important story, which is the Covaxin. Now we isolated the virus at ICMR NIV Pune on the 9th of March, and then we approached Bharat Biotech because we had worked with them for the JE vaccine and the rabies and also for the rotavirus vaccine. And we felt that the killed virus vaccine is probably, people at that time had started talking about mRNA and other newer DNA vaccines and technologies. We said, let us stick to the classic route, remain simple. It may not be as effective, but we can produce it fast. And we requested Krishna Alla to make a formulation, which we characterized at NIV. We did the small animal studies, the mouse, rabbits, and the rat study, which was published in iScience. Now, the second part is the monkey study, which was a nightmare. Nightmare in the sense because we do not have any major breeding facility for monkeys in India, which is doing well. The largest breeding facilities for monkeys is in China. They export monkeys to the Western world or do the testing in China. So everything that is tested in the world has to go through China. Even the AstraZeneca vaccine monkey studies was done in the US. They were not done in the UK, they were done in the US. Now we have to do this monkey study and how do we get those monkeys? So since we had everyone in our office, so all the departments were there, we requested the environment, animal husbandry, them to give us permission to capture those monkeys. Within 2 days we got that. A team was sent, all the monkeys, to capture wild monkeys. All the monkeys because of lockdown, had gone into the forests. They were not getting food, they were not in the cities, so we had to go to the forest. Go to the forest, Telangana border, Maharashtra border, and also Karnataka border. Within a week, we were able to capture 20 monkeys. Now, are they healthy monkeys? So how do we test them? We had to overnight buy an X-ray machine, do the IGRA test, do all their biochemistry, and say that they are healthy monkeys. And they were put in air-conditioned cages at the maximum containment laboratory at Pune, where we were to give them the testing. Now, these monkeys were vaccinated, and how do we look at them? And this was a challenge, so we had to challenge the monkeys with the virus. Now, this has to be done in a BSL-4 facility, which was there. The monkeys were there. We had the virus. Now, who is going to do the bronchoscope for those monkeys? That was another nightmare where to get. Fortunately, one scientist, D, had joined at ICMR headquarters, who was a pulmonologist. Flew him overnight by the Indian Air Force, go there. He contacted CTC Pune. They sent the army sent their pulmonologists. They were posted with us for a month. Bronchoscopy, third generation of the bronchi, virus was given inside the monkeys. Day 1. Day 2, bronchoscopy again, anesthetized, samples collected, lavage. This lavage was collected for 14 days, whether the virus has grown or not. 14 days later, we got results. No virus is growing. That was probably the point. And that is where Krishna Alla and the Bharat Biotech team was absolutely excited. And we did the hamster study with the 68-day follow-up, the safety, and then there was no stopping because then we had the one published in Lancet, phase 2 and the phase 3. And the beginning of this month, on the 3rd, so I think it was what I realized from the Indian Council of Medical Research, a 111-year-old organization, had systems in place, had a sense of hierarchy and a sense of camaraderie that they were all able. Earlier, one scientist would not work with another scientist. What I realized from this pandemic that one scientist started working with another scientist, one lab started working with another lab, One institution started working with another institution. One government agency started working with another government agency. And more recently, we are seeing that different countries are now working together to do these kind of multicentric trials and looking at cures, because everyone has faced this pandemic. Even the best of developed world has faced this pandemic and has not been able to really conquer it in every which way. So this is the little story which is there. And then there are more anecdotes. If you read that book, you will find that interesting anecdotes, how they went for serosamples collection, the first serosurvey, complete lockdown, had to go in complete PPE, collect those samples, collect blood samples from people, how they volunteered. Very nice, heart-touching stories, some of them. Then the neutralization of SARS-CoV-2 by Covaxin, we know that it is working against all the variants, probably much better than many of the vaccines. Another interesting thing was this national task force, which was created by us at ICMR and with the health secretary and myself as co-chair. We set up a task force. We informed this task force to the Supreme Court. And this was the task force which was guiding the entire pandemic. And this was set up on 18th March last year, guiding on calibration of testing strategy, advising the government on lockdown, advising the government on containment strategy, which medicines are going to work, clinical trials, oversight on all research, advisories on discharge, and the Ministry of Health was, I think, working overtime. I think I have never seen bureaucracy, not that I'm an experienced person from that perspective, but the bureaucracy worked day in, day out. And I think they have that hierarchy which works like the army. Absolutely fantastic the way they had worked, whole of government approach and how it was done. So these are the 4 issues we took out of IJMR on COVID. The 5th issue is also out, I think, with the 3 waves kind of a thing that is on the cover story. And we were able to publish more than 250 research papers, and you can see the bound volumes on the extreme left, 250 research papers, all on COVID, published in top journals across the world. We gave the management protocol, home isolation care in 14 languages. They were translated and given over. Again, we had to work on timelines. And if I were to say what were the 10 COVID highlights of ICMR, or I think countrywide scaling up of diagnostic laboratories from 1 to 3,000 within a year. Diagnostic kits self-sufficiently, 100% import to export. Nationwide sero surveys, 4 round, published in top journals. Validation and diagnostics of handholding of local manufacturers. Indigenous vaccine development, virus isolation to the phase 3. Preclinical animal studies of international standards, and now we are flooded with requests, and we were flooded with requests from various agencies for doing studies. We were fortunate enough, and probably oversight or hindsight or whatever, we were able to get a proper MOU with PBIL that 5% of all royalty of all sales will come to ICMR, because the first tranche of 33 crores 3-4 months back, straight from Bharat Biotech. And I think that is just going to be going up the sky. Extensive international COVID research papers, diagnostic strategies. We did a delivery of vaccines by drones. And again, IIT Kanpur that you're talking about, they have an airstrip. We did initial work with them to test out the drones, whether the temperature is being maintained. We sent a special team there for about a month. They worked on that. And then we had an expression of interest for anyone manufacturing, and we were able to get 3 or 4 players. And the first vaccine transmission by drones was from one area in Manipur to another Loktak Lake. There is a small island in that Loktak Lake where it is about 26 kilometers, 3 kilometers by boat and 1 kilometer by walking. And within 10 minutes that was sent by drones, the vaccines. And now we are doing it in Nagaland as well as Mizoram. How India achieves its fight again, I think the last 2 slides, sorry for overstepping on over time. 1.4 billion, largest and fastest ever vaccine drive, and I think the Ministry of Health, with its experience with the universal immunization program, and 80% of the adult is vaccinated 1 dose, 40% fully vaccinated, 48% are women, and more than 50%, I think 56% are in rural areas vaccination. So political will, strong from top to the bottom, India having the strong UIP program. with 28,000 cold chain facilities, 2.3 million ASHA frontline workers. I think ASHAs are doing everything. They have given everything to be done. Millions of doctors, nurses, ANMs, 348,000 public and 28,000 private vaccination centers. Vaccine manufacturing superpower now with Serum Institute, Bharat Biotech, Cadila, Panacea, BioE, and others. IT prowess, again, as I mentioned right from the beginning, digitally monitor vaccination. We have QR-coded vaccine certificate. Many advanced countries still have handwritten certificates being given. We have a QR-coded testing certificate also now. People's participation in self-help group, local government, sophisticated digital technologies. Many countries have asked for this software, which is an open source platform. Whole of government approach with the Cabinet Secretary at the Hem of Affairs, National Task Force, the Ministry of Health, state governments, drug controller, emergency medical relief, national disaster management, National Information Center, state surveillance officers, district surveillance officers. So we were on the firing line right from the beginning, but fortunately we are now slightly comfortable. And we lost 28 of our colleagues during this fight for the pandemic across the country. It paid tributes to them for serving and giving their lives to the country. So now just a few little slides down memory lane. This is our Gandhi Memorial and Associated Hospitals, where we have studied medicine. It was like this. And this is the Mahatma Gandhi's personal physician, Dr. Sushila Nair, visiting the institution. The dons of KGMC, Professor R.V. Singh, Professor Bhargev, Professor P.C. Dubey, Professor K.B. Bhatia, professors. I mean, look at them, how immaculately, perfectly, attentively they are. Professor N.N. Gupta, D.N. Sharma, so some of these photographs were there. Then you have Professor Halim, Professor D.R. Singh, Professor Sahai, how they built the students. This is the portal where they enter after class 12. This is the Department of Anatomy. Everyone is full of fear, anxiety, impatience, energy, and I think this is the best laboratory that I can see in the world. This is our 1979 batch. I joined in 1979. Dr. Divakar Dalila, who was the Hewitt medalist, is there in the second row. And this is our B batch. This is our MD medicine. We can see Professor R.N. Mishra, Professor B.N. Singh, Professor Pandya, Professor K.B. Bhatia, and the 13 of us who passed MD at that time. And this is our Silver Jubilee reunion. And I think that tradition goes on, and I should probably go on. And I think KGMU has been leading from the front. And I recently heard that it's ranked number 2 in the national rankings. So I congratulate, and I think it's leading from the front. And I thank you for your kind attention, as attention is the rarest and the purest form of generosity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for the brilliant and inspiring words. Professor Dk Gupta is former professor and head of Pediatric Surgery Department, AIIMS, New Delhi, former Vice Chancellor of King George's Medical University and former Director of the Super Speciality Pediatric Hospital and Postgraduate Teaching Institute of Noida. He is a mentor and a guide to many like us in this university, so words fall short for him. A prolific scientific author, academician and surgeon, admired orator, excellent administrator, who has held multiple international positions of responsibility and is currently the Honorary Secretary of National Academy of Medical Sciences, India. He is here with us today on the occasion of the first Professor Devendra Gupta Research Oration Award, and we request you to bless us with a few words, sir.
Dignitaries on the dais, guests in the audience, senior faculty members, students, recipients of the awards, gold medal. My special thanks to Professor Bhargev for sparing the time and coming on this historical day. The research showcase has shown that KGMU has always been on the forefront in thought processes, in innovations, and executions at the faculty level, at the resident level, at the student level. I am very happy to witness so much of progress has been made under the dynamic leadership of the present Vice Chancellor, General Bipin Puri. Sir, full compliments to you for leading the institution, taking it forward, projecting it at the national and international level. Somebody has said, institutions grow by two basic ethos: the selection and working of the good faculty and joining of the good students. And both these things are known for this institution, and that is the reason the future is always bright, and I'm sure they will be shining at the national and international level. Professor Bhargev, you have very well highlighted in a very modest way your thought process, your approach, your contribution, your hard work, how much you have contributed, especially at a very hard time. We all knew, we all observed it, and we all followed the guidelines from the ICMR during the very tough time. Of course, it was a nightmare how the public suffered at a time and how India contributed at all levels, whether it was the hierarchy in the bureaucracy, whether it was a medical fraternity, whether it was a political system, whether it was the faculty, the nursing, the technicians, and all sorts of things, not leaving behind the NGOs. You see, at no stage there was a crisis, even for the most needed and most afraid and most wanted people, to provide the food, the water, the transport, and everything. And this is what India is. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how many of you know, there were few sections of people in India, but more so overseas, who tried to defame and find criticism in every action as usual, that India is a poor country, India cannot manage its COVID crisis, political system is not adequately managing, and all that. It was quite disappointing, and it was very, very unfortunate. I think in Lancet on May 24th it was published, there were a couple of articles which were absolutely not acceptable, and it was rebutted immediately with my faculty also. I don't know whether you read it or not. It was published immediately after that on 24th of June, within a month and a half. But they were bold enough to publish our rebuttal in Lancet, that you talk only of science, not of politics. Don't criticize Indian political system. What they have achieved has been appreciated not only in India but overseas as well. Not only by the scientific community, but also by the general public as well. Hence, as Professor Balram Bhargev very aptly said, we have the challenges, we have to meet all those with our own innovative ideas, with our resources available. And a good model is that, yes, make use of every penny available to us. We don't have to look forward what the Western world is doing and they are spending. Rightly said, 18 trillion expenditure on health every year. And do you know, 1 lakh people die in US alone every year because of the medical negligence. It is authentic figure. 1 lakh people still die. India cannot afford that one, and I'm sure people have a better medical facility available. Even in the middle of night, if I want Dr. Bhargev, you see me in the middle of night, I can have an access. In Western world, in Australia, in Japan, you can't have that. Wait for 2 weeks or 4 weeks till you get an appointment for a consultant. So India has done much, much better within 70 years of its independence as compared to several other advanced countries. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is the time I enjoyed the whole presentation arranged by Professor Uma Singh and Professor Shaili Awasthi. They deserve a special compliment to arrange the research showcase at this institution. Really, it was a showcase. In the end, I would just like to say a few words, ladies and gentlemen. We are not too much advanced. We are not too much lucky to have every kind of facility at our command. But what India has a tradition, the legacy, and the richness of our culture and heritage, please make use of it, enjoy with it. We have been taught and we have learned that we have to be sensitive to the needs of the people, especially the suffering community. We have to serve as a role model. That is our basic responsibility. We don't have to look towards the other people who have all the facilities and richness. That is not possibly within our limits. Second thing, one should learn to be very contented. I can say surely that when the age advances and you achieve certain age, you realize that how much you have missed in your life, especially in the medical field. You don't know much about your culture, heritage, and history of the country. You have not been able to see many places which you should visit and learn. And ultimately, it is not the wealth which is worth to acquire. It is the knowledge and it is the experience which is much more that one relishes at the end of the life. So I think it is the responsibility of the senior people, it is the responsibility of the retired people of this great institution that they should continually mentor the younger generation, mentor the residents and the postgraduates, not only in the field of research, but how to lead a good quality of life, how to be a better citizen, how to be a better human being, how to respond to the needs of the society, forgetting all about all other things, but how to serve as a role model in the society. That is how to become a good person in life. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining the research showcase today. Thank you, General Puri, for organizing this oration. Thank you, Professor Balram Bhargev, for delivering an excellent oration, giving the bird's eye view of the inside story of the vaccine. I may tell you that how efficient, competent Dr. Bhargev is. He did my angiography several years back, and within minutes, and I asked him, is it over? I mean, I didn't know even that he has done the angiography on me. I mean, he's so perfect, he's so efficient, and it was such a simple job about which we are all afraid of. So that is the kind of the excellence, the perfection that each one of you should aim to. Dr. Agrawal some time back has said that it was so inspiring from Atul in 2010 that he also was able to get the award today. So I think you should have some inspiration from somewhere. In today's research showcase, even if 10% of all this goes into the minds, I think next year there will be more and more people who will be able to enjoy all this. Thank you very much. All the best to you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your inspiring words. May I request Dk Gupta, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and other dignitaries on the dais to please present the prestigious Oration Award to Bhargev, sir. We also request the audience to please give a standing ovation to Professor Balram Bhargev. Thank you, sir. I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and other dignitaries on the dais to present a plaque of our appreciation to Professor Dk Gupta, sir. Thank you very much, sir and ma'am. We request all the awardees, so please have a seat, sir. We request all the awardees and the organizing committee for a quick group photograph as permitted by VC, sir. Quick group photograph, all the awardees, please. This will be followed by the vote of thanks.
Are we visible? Rohit?
Thank you, ma'am. May I request you to please give the vote of thanks?
Thank you, Dr. Somendra. It's a privilege to deliver the vote of thanks for Research Showcase. Our chief guest, Professor Balram Bhargev, an alumnus of KGMU, who was the strongest pillar in the group of leaders who steered the country safely through the first and second wave of COVID, guided R&D for Covaxin, and today took time out to give a mesmerizing narration of how the country stood at the time of COVID and inspired me and so many of us. We are proud of ICMR, proud to be Indians, and thank you so much for being here today. Our guest of honor and special guest, Professor Dk Gupta, former Vice Chancellor of KGMU, pediatric surgeon of international renown. His commitment and connection with KGMU is evident by the Oration Medal, which has been instituted by him to be conferred upon an academician par excellence each year. We begin with Professor Balram Bhargev. What a glorious beginning. I assure you, sir, the university will take it forward to its full heights. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Lieutenant General Bipin Puri, he was the inspiration. He is leading KGMU with the mission and perfection of the glorious armed forces of India to greater heights as we climb up the NIRF ladder, just to name a few achievements of KGMU. Thank you, sir. Professor Uma Singh, she is Dean Academics, an epitome of poise, elegance, and thank you for being here today, madam. Thank you very much. Dr. Dhaven Kumar, who came all the way from UK to help us shape the Precision Medicine Center and has witnessed the Young Research Award, the medal which he has instituted to inspire young researchers and faculty of KGMU. Thank you, sir, and thank you, Madam Dr. Anju, who has accompanied with you. To all the deans, heads of department, faculty, students, staff present here who have participated in the poster competition, know that your paper was published in the top 50% journals in your specialty and in the atrium, which is there. Most of us have seen your papers. Congratulations, irrespective of whether you won the award or not. You are all wonderful. My co-faculty of research, Dr. Somendra Vikram Singh, stands strong by my side, as he did today, as he compared for the showcase. And Dr. Nisha Mani Tripathi brings professionalism and mentoring of PhD and ethics. Thank you both. I would like to thank the staff of Research Cell who has worked hard tirelessly night and day to make this happen. Dr. Sudhir and Dr. Sumit Rungta, who have helped us in various capacities. And lastly, and most importantly, the PhD volunteers who for the first time came forward and said that research faculty is their faculty, and they have helped, assisted in ways they've never done before. Thank you all very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And now, to conclude the program, I request all to stand and join in the national anthem of our great nation.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंग तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you very much. This concludes our program for today. Thank you for your patient hearing. Thank you, sir.